I know we were going to go over the little wins tracker. You can find that in today's live call links, or you can download it from the blog article now, or a previous email, because I shared it on several places. So we are going to do that, but I want to go over two of the questions that I received, and I think they are really relevant to the wins because they relate to goals. And when we look at goals, if you've set goals and they sort of they didn't really work. So if you had goals and they didn't work, or if you created a sequence of goals. All right, so why I wanted to do this in the first place was to share a question I got around the goals. But the lady asked me not to reveal the basis of the story, but rather to talk about why she's failed to actually follow her goals. So we did have a face-to-face talk about this, and obviously she can't make the live call today, but she wanted to really have an answer, and I needed time to think about that. And her words were, I feel defeated. I feel like I'm getting into arguments with my partner because I didn't reach that goal. I don't know what I did wrong. I feel irritated. And even though I did my best, I feel attacked. So I'm constantly looking to see if I have my facts right. So, and it is a really difficult thing when you realize that all those goals somehow didn't work out. Somehow you set them and you followed the steps and you did what you needed to do. But I reminded her to look back at the last couple of months, because even though that big target on top of that list of goals wasn't reached, let's say for argument's sake, her target was to bring in $2,000 and she didn't reach that. It's not a matter of being a failure or having not met that goal, but maybe it was a little bit out of her reach. And it's hard to assess what was out of reach and what we could have done to get to that resolve. How can we just do it better instead of feeling defeated, instead of feeling overrun by negative things and negative thoughts? And believe me, I think her partner is in fact really happy about her results, but she feels attacked in the sense where I think she's in her own mind attacking herself or badgering herself for not reaching that goal. So when this happens to you, maybe it's time to ask yourself, at what cost are you trying to win? You know, and when you look at your wins tracker, it's not about reaching that big goal, because if you look at every single month, you get to distinguish between daily activities, weekly activities, monthly activities, and see where those things led to wins. And all of those wins add up in the end. And only just because she didn't reach, say, her $2,000 mark, but she made, let's say, $1,200, or at least there's always a result. And at least there was a result. Because if she didn't, again, aeroplanes, I'm always competing with aeroplanes, and there's just nothing I can do about it but laugh and just get on. So instead of telling yourself you didn't do this well or you didn't do that well, why not analyze? Oh, sorry, I nearly lost my voice there. Why not analyze and see where you could have gone a different route or taken another approach? And don't throw the goal away. Don't diminish it or think that it's worthless. Why not just set the goal again and try another tactic, try another strategy, or do a bit of research, find out how you could do it differently. So sometimes when we have these feelings um, like we didn't matter or like we feel attacked, it's only because of our own inner voices and our own inner critic trying to point out the negative things instead of seeing the positive things that are actually happening in our lives. Now, I did write down a few things here. Let me have a look. Oh, yes. So one of the other things I mentioned to her is that she's maybe clinging too tightly to the outcome. And if we are so determined to have that that specific outcome, it's so difficult for things to happen in between, because sometimes something over here had to go wrong so that you can have the other thing go right. And that other thing might lead to the better result in your goal. But when you are so stuck on doing it this way, oftentimes that results in a little bit of a failure. And I mean, none of us here are strangers to failure. We are sometimes strangers to change. And that is my advice, is change the little things that didn't work, adapt those thought patterns, adapt the ideas, the key components that you wanted to implement to reach that goal. And don't throw away the goal, just set it again and move there on the next step and the next step. Because every $500 added up, stacked on top of each other, will get you to 5,000. It doesn't have to be the be all, end all, only goal you'll ever set for yourself. There will be other things. Now, maybe this will help you think about things a little bit differently. Why don't you, when things feel difficult and when we struggle to get to maybe see the result or maybe see the actual win, why don't we revert to kindness and to caring about our own feelings and rekindle that childlike belief in ourselves? We are too serious when it comes to pursuing a goal or seeing a goal through to the end. And you may be thinking about past mistakes or the news or something that's happening in the environment where you just don't have any control over. But when you just block out all of those things and go back into yourself, sit there and really think about that thing, you will come to a point where there will be an issue. It's going to happen. Just don't lean into the negative side, and rather gather a little bit of faith in yourself. Now, this brings me into another question, and the question was, how do you start your biggest goal? And if you can remember in my Instagram stories, I first had this massive heap of paperwork and workbooks that weren't filed and files that weren't filed and just things that were out of order that I took out of the studio to make room for me to think. And when I did the brush over video to show everybody the mess, which is also part of something I put into the Overcoming the Dream Crushing Weeds workshop, and I realized then that all of that looked like one massive mountain of work I needed to get done. And that massive mountain felt like it was unachievable until I sat down and started taking one piece of paper at a time, putting the different groups together, putting the different course contents together and starting to file them systematically. And wouldn't you believe it, weeks down the line, because I wasn't going to be in any rush and I wasn't going to take any pushback from anyone, especially not anyone in our household. But Conrad understands where all of this creative bursting comes from. And he actually, I think, enjoys seeing me do all of these things. And it took some time for him to really understand where I was. But my biggest goal was to make sure everything was sorted, everything was in its place, so that when it comes back into the studio, that it can have a specific place and not be in my way. And that mountain got moved one page at a time. And when you have a goal that is so massively big, you have to start somewhere. And my suggestion is when you look at the final goal, start working your way back to where you are now. And from this very point where there's nothing in place, where you don't have an action plan, where you don't have, um, little wins, start building up steps to get to that big thing and then start taking those steps. When you see step one isn't working, adapt, adjust, do a few different things, and then take all of that new knowledge to the next step with you. And when you are there, work on your second step. See if everything is still falling in place. The goal will always be there, that big thing. But the steps you take to get there will be riddled with failure, they will be riddled with successes, and they will be riddled with all kinds of doubts and feelings of, I don't know, not getting there or feeling disappointed or doubtful in yourself. And I want to encourage you today that those big goals are sometimes so scary that we give up before we get there. And I don't want you to ever give up on that big goal. Take smaller steps, evaluate those steps, and do yourself a favor, have midterm and short-term goals as well. We can't just always chase after that big apple. We sometimes have to chase after the little things that get us there. Now, instead of taking on that whole heap of mess, I took one piece of information, went through it, figured out what I'm going to do with it, then put it in the file. Or some of those things, I actually extracted the information that I wanted, put them in a Word or a PDF document, saved them on the computer, and got rid of the stuff that was filling my room. And a lot of those pages looked like this. Let me show you. I kept one out here like this. So they are just messy marks just for me to figure out how am I going to do this thing, or how do the different aspects fit together. And then once I have that eureka moment, I don't need that piece of paper anymore. But while I was creating, it just landed on the heap. And eventually I had so many things on that heap that I forgot to actually um, sort through them and figure out what I've done already. And that's where my diary comes in. Now, in my diary, sometimes even some of these little maps and these little notes, I'll cut out or tear out or rewrite in my diary, so that when I page back into that diary, I get to see how I've grown. And from there, I actually see the little wins. Now, I want to share my screen with you and show you, is it this one? There we go. So in the monthly live call for this specific call, I gave you this downloadable sheet where you can track your monthly wins. And it's really, really important that you do track those wins, because if you don't track the wins, you won't be able to see how successful you've actually been. And when you don't have that, and you can't see the wins, and you can't see the positive things, do you know what's going to happen? You're going to start giving up on your goal. And like I said before, I never want you to ever, ever, ever give up on that big goal. But while you have this tracking system going, you can even borrow this idea and get a month set up into the 4 weeks, and then track your little wins week by week. Break it down smaller, get smaller goals that do add up to the bigger goals. And keep this as close as possible. Look at it as often as possible, because without it, you're going to start losing faith in yourself, and you are going to worry and be anxious about whether you are moving forward or not, whether you are reaching that goal. And let me tell you something about the lady from the very first chat. If her goal was $5,000 and she only brought in 1,200 something, do you think she failed? No, no, she didn't. She succeeded in bringing in $1,200. That's not nothing. That is a lot of money. And that should act as encouragement for the next step. Because if those steps that she took here, those wins, if those wins created the $1,200, and she compacted and compiled those and stacked them on top of each other, she could actually reach the $5,000 goal. And you know what? I don't think she's that far away from it. And I know you're watching because you told me you're going to watch. And when you reach that $5,000 goal, you're going to look back on all of these wins on that wins tracker, and you're going to laugh at yourself, because you'll see how silly it was to doubt yourself in the first place, and how all those negative thoughts and negative feelings you are feeling right now, how all of that has hindered you from actually moving forward. So we don't have any extra questions, and I think I've just about covered what I promised we would cover. So let me have a look if I made any other promises here. So I'll answer any submitted questions. We'll have a little get together, ask me anything. So let's see. So, how to spot our wins? Okay, how to spot our wins. Like I said, all those little notes I put in my diary, those act as little wins that you can spot. Something else I've noticed is we have a family calendar on the fridge or next to the fridge, and we mark events like sporting dates or like Conrad going to golf, me having certain appointments and things I want to do and things I need to accomplish. And when I have a look at that in the morning, when I give the cat some food, I realize that everything that was listed before today's date are things that we actually accomplished. It's things that we showed up for. It's things that we participated in. It's things that we did in our lives. And those things are notable. And I don't understand why we don't just get that tracker back here. Well, I know why we don't do it, but what I don't understand is if you have the guidance and you hear these things, when are you going to sit still and realize how much you've accomplished? And you might sit there and you might think, well, heck, I'm 38 years old and I haven't done anything with my life. But have you really done nothing with your life? Or have you just not taken note of all the things you've done in your life? Make sure that you are in tune with your life, that you are on track with where you're heading, and that you're actually doing what you love doing. Because if you are not doing what you love doing, then I'll urge you to take little moments and bring them in every day, every here and there, and make them part of your day. I'm drinking electrolytes only because I know if I get to a certain point and feel a little bit tired or overwhelmed, that instead of reaching for the coffee and instead of reaching for those stimulants, rather use something like an electrolyte to replenish the cells and replenish the water. And that has helped way more than having another cup of coffee. I can promise you that. Sometimes I wish I could just go to hospital and get a saline drip for 24 hours and then come back home. But the electrolytes really help for that bout of, I wouldn't call it tiredness. It's just, when you reach that point where you feel like, oh, before you reach that point, don't drink more coffee and more caffeine and take more stimulants. Go and get yourself some electrolytes and drink that. Well, there's just one thing extra I want to add into today's live call, and that is that you never have to worry about joining or enrolling in the immersion course. As one of the ladies who wanted to join said, but it's just so expensive. Yes, so as you can see, we have the 6 month payment plan, and that's how I started because I didn't have any real substantial income in the beginning, especially not before I took the course. And I knew that a payment plan like that would really help. And I think that time there was only either full payment or a discounted payment. But when I went to pay with my PayPal account, I could actually do that, and everything came together because PayPal offered a 6-month plan. And in case you were wondering, I started the course not knowing anything about Adobe Illustrator, not knowing anything about how to create the type of art that you see in magazines or on television even, and make my ordinary work shine and come to life so that I could actually generate an income from that. And you are not going to sell your original art. You are going to learn how to use Bonnie's strategies and techniques to recreate your art and then resell over and over and over the same art so that you can have a constant income generation. And this was a foreign concept for me as well. And I wonder if you've followed along on the Secrets to Success. If you haven't, you have a couple of days, I think 4 days left to actually join that and watch the Secrets to Success. And then please use the link in this blog article because there are quite a few affiliate links out there. And if you're using an affiliate link outside of my group, then I will be missing out on commission, which is another way for me to make sure that my income also generates and stacks up. So let's go through what is covered in the course. Now, I know a lot of you are afraid to push that little button just to go and read what's available. So let me show you what's available. All right, this is the timeline, the course timeline. So it starts on the 21st. And when you sign up anytime now, you actually have access to the introduction, or shall we say the welcome pages, where you get to navigate the website, you get an invite to join the group, and it's really fun and exciting when you start going through your orientation week. And that kicks off on the 1st of March. So you'll know exactly what's going on in the course. So let's have a look what's happening in Module 1. So you have your Introduction to Illustrator, where you begin to learn how to use the program, build a custom workspace, get familiar, learn the essential drawing tools. And I'll tell you what, my mind was blown that first week. After that, we'll get to Module 2, where you learn how to master Illustrator. And this is where the real magic begins, because up until this point, some of the aspects might feel so foreign that it feels like you're entering a whole new dimension. And that's probably what it felt like for me in the beginning. And I'm sure you will also find it highly educational. And even if you just had this course up to here, you would be so well equipped and have benefited from the skills already. So in Module 3, Bonnie goes over how to create the repeat patterns, what each of the repeat patterns consists of, how to create it, how to start from simplified areas right into getting those more complex patterns going. Right. And then we start building collections. That's what you regularly see me sharing, is where you have several designs that all come together, fit together, and become a collection that you get to share with art directors, or create a whole fabric collection with, or use to do a set of book covers, a set of cards, anything your heart desires, you'll be able to create. Then we have module 5, which is licensing your artwork. And this is where Bonnie goes in depth to teach you what possibilities there really is out there and what you can do with your art to make it stand out in the world and become very powerful money-making machine. Now, in module 6, you'll learn how to be a creative entrepreneur and earn long-term income and successes with your continued efforts. Now, I never bargained on immersion changing my life the way it did. And you've heard countless testimonials about, little things that I show and share on Instagram and on these blog articles about how immersion has changed my life. And you've heard testimonials in my email campaigns as well. And I really believe that once you have these skill sets, that you will be able to carve out a path that is so unique to you that you'll never look back. And I don't want you to ever lose faith in yourself. Remember when we talked about the goals a couple of minutes ago? Please be sure to keep going on. Keep doing what sets your heart alight and be there for yourself. Make sure that you get all the things that the videos are there, the classes are there, the interactions are there. And once you have that course, you will always have that course. And if there's something you don't understand, go back, search it up, look for keywords. And to this day, I go back to the previous courses and look up and see, what did I learn there? I made notes like a crazy person because I just absorbed everything. And I think that's why it's made such a big impact in my life, is because I really put pedal to the metal, and every minute I had spare, I could invest in that. And if you are still in a current job, you can pinch off pennies and really pay for this course on your own. You don't need to have a loan or go and borrow money from your partner, even though before I had enough money, I had to borrow the last 2 months' payment from Conrad because I just didn't have enough. And it's funny how our partners step up and help us in this endeavor when they see that we are actually serious about it. And now, 2 years later, when I can actually show my income and know that that amount is actually contributing to give us a better lifestyle. A lot of it we are saving and putting away for when we really want to do something important. And I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. Oh, and I think I'm yawning now because it's really a lot to take in and a lot to understand. But why not click on one of those links, or just click on the immersion course link? Click on that link, get yourself in the door, and take the immersion course. You will be happy you did. And there is no such course out there. Not even a university course teaches what Bonnie teaches. And you could literally save yourself years and years of learning and in-job experience by just taking what she's offering right now. All right, I'll leave you to it. Now, okay, I think we'll end this call today. And as soon as I can, get it uploaded. And I did promise that I'm going to add this to today's, or well, to a new blog post, just so that you have access to that. And I really wanted to share the tracker with everybody and make sure people in the community knew how to work with their goals, even if this is just something to think about before you actually start taking your goals a little bit seriously, and start monitoring those wins so that you have something to be proud of. All right, that's it for tonight. We'll see each other again soon, and keep up with your blog reading and interaction in the sketchbook journal. I see a few of you have popped in to take a peek, but a thumbs up, a like, a little smiley face, and a comment is always welcome. And you are allowed to ask me things in that community. That's why I created it for us. It's not bound to any specific program or workshop. It's there for all of us to connect with each other. We are right now, as we are speaking, a community of around 231, I think, 231, that are all invited to the group. And you are more than welcome to join in there and have a chat, see what I share. I don't share every single day because we're still fairly new. I want to see how you guys react and what you want more of. And then that way also keep you up to date with what's happening with me and what I'm posting in my local community as well, like the little watercolor postcard sessions and things I get up to around town. Okay, so this time I'm really going to say goodbye, and we'll talk again soon. And thank you for those who joined. I really appreciate it, and that you took the time to be here with me live tonight. All right, bye.